B, let's talk about keys to victory here. If you're Errol Spence, what needs to happen?
Establish the jab early. Spence, Spence, let's just talk about Spence real quick. I think the most important thing for Spence to do is establish the jab and to stop Crawford's rhythm. And that jab from the southpaw stance can go two ways. One, he throws a really nice up jab. And what that does is it brings the guard up, opens up the body for him to get in there and work off the front foot. We've never seen Spence off the back foot. He's pretty much a one gear guy, and that gear is like 80 punches around the whole time, nonstop, off the front foot, bad intentions on a lot of what he throws. And he's trying to grind you down, get you the fuck out of there. But I think the most important thing for him to do is kind of disrupt what I think Crawford's going to try to do, and that's his movement. I think that's the most important thing for Spence to do, is to disrupt Bud's movement, and then start to go to the body. He's a naturally bigger man. A lot of people don't remember Bud won his first title at 35. This is his third division, and I think Spence attempts to go to town on Bud's body, really take him into deep water, sap his legs earlier in the contest so that he can attempt to move in for the kill, so to speak, in the last few rounds.
I think that is being undersold. When did Bud go to 47? Was it against Benavidez's brother? Was that at 40 or 47? That was 2018, but I don't remember what weight that was at. Was that 40 or 47?
I don't remember.
So
I have to look.
Now we would have to. I wouldn't normally ask you to look it up. But
I think it was Jeff Horn. I think it was the Jeff Horn fight. He moved up and got a title shot like right away.
But when would that have been? And how many fights has he had at 47? Can you look that up?
I'm going to look it up right
now. Okay. Because I want to make a point, and I want to see where your head is with that, and whether or not you agree with me or not. The point that I want to make, and that is that thus far, when people were clamoring for the fight, up until they announced the fight,
it was Jeff Horn. It was Jeff Horn.
And
2018.
That's all right. So I thought it was 2018, but I thought it was against Benavidez.
Said this will be his 8th fight at 47.
Okay, that's enough to know where someone's at.
Correct.
Okay. Nobody, since they've clamored for it, since they pressed for it, since it's been announced, has mentioned size. In any of those 8 fights, did you look at any of those 8, because we both watched all 8 of them, and say he's not big enough, or he's not equipped to be fighting at 147? Because I look at Errol Spence and see a guy, 154 pounder that fights at welter. That's what I see in Errol Spence. And I'm very curious.
And that's what I used to see. That's what I used to see in Kell Brook. And that's what I saw in Jeff Horn. That these are bigger welterweights.
I mean, Jeff Horn looked monstrous at 47 to me,
Yeah, and so did to me, so did Kell Brook always. Kell Brook was always, big built guy.
Wide shoulders, which means
little short alligator arms.
Mm-hmm.
But he always looked. I was always kind of amazed he could make 47. Would appear to be relatively easily.
I have very odd takes on this, man, and they're all very.
Well, what do you think Spence should do, and what should he establish early on?
Okay, well, look, you and I are proponents of 2 things on this show. We feel that younger guys, don't do them enough, and that is the jab, which is the most important punch in the sport, and body work. Our boy Marcos from Australia wrote in when we said, we talked about why don't these guys throw the jab,
Right.
And he gave some interesting insight. I don't think either of these guys are guilty of the things that you and I say. Maybe this is what, it's guys chasing a knockout, blah, blah, blah. These are both high IQ guys. Here's what I think about Errol Spence. I think he does everything good and nothing great. I think, look, this fight changes everything. He goes in there and does what he wants, what he says he's going to do. I've seen a plateau in him that I don't see in Bud. I still see, oh shit, in Bud.
Yeah,
skills wise. I really would mirror everything you said. I would try to, when I say make it ugly, there's two types of making it ugly. There's Bernard Hopkins, make it ugly, stink it out.
Yeah.
Jab, right hand, elbow. The
Step
refs
on
one
foot,
side,
spin
right?
you.
Step on exactly. Step on your foot, spin you. The refs on your left, you throw a dirty shot on the right.
Right.
That's one type of making it ugly. I mean ugly. I think he needs to make it look like the Mikey Garcia fight. To me, that was a stinker.
There was a stinker.
Double and triple the jab and put a right hand behind it and not hang around. Look, I can't tell you, it's repeating myself. Even Marcos answered it when we asked people, why do some people abandon jab? If you have an opinion on this, please give it to me. Why? Okay, you throw the jab. Cool. You know what I mean? They both throw jabs. Nice jabs. Both have great jabs too. And Bud can throw a nice jab from both stances too,
right,
which is probably fucking super hard to deal with if you're in there.
Sure.
So I always go, why don't guys throw the jab, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Then we get guys that do throw the jab and they don't double and triple them. Spence has got to double and triple that jab, come with something big behind it, blind him with the second or third jab, and change the number of throw two, put a right hand behind it. Then throw three, put a right hand behind it. Then throw two and put a right hand behind it. I think you have to give him, Bud's too smart for you to keep giving him the same things. And I think
it's important that he changes the level on it. So he's gonna have to,
so the levels is huge.
And I think he's gonna try. I think the plan here is he's gonna, at least in the beginning, go after Bud's body.
But I don't think Spence's arsenal is, I'm at a loss for the word. I don't think that it's a very innovative arsenal of stuff.
I was going to say educated.
Yes. Educated or innovative. I don't think he creates angles. I don't think he has, some guys will have a punch or two that's unorthodox and it's almost their style. Like Golovkin, that looping shot would almost land on the top of your head, a looped shot. Some people throw something that's a half uppercut, half hook from an angle, from a different angle.
But Bud throws a weird hook from the southpaw stance. He throws it down.
Correct.
He throws a punch that he feints with his left hand, who's in the southpaw stance, and comes around with a right hook. It's really wide, like he's flapping wings.
Yes, and ironically, you think, a wide shot. It always works for him.
Well, yeah, because this is usually when he's got the guy hurt, and they're looking for the straight shots at that point. You know what I mean? He's in the southpaw stance where he's going to get ready to he's when he. I was watching him like the last two fights. When he gets into the southpaw stance, it's a lot different than when he's in the orthodox stance. When he's southpaw, he's more of a counterpuncher. When he's orthodox, he's more of an aggressor. He wants to be first. So typically he starts the fight orthodox and he's first and he scores some points. He feels out his opponent. Then once he gets their timing down, he appears to switch to southpaw, and then he gets the style changes. They start to push the fight, and he starts to pick them off, as they're coming in. I think you pointed out against Sean Porter in your prediction of that fight. He's going to wait for Porter to come in a little wild and sort of off balance, then start throwing his famous uppercuts, which he did. And then ultimately threw those hooks from distance, which are, they don't look accurate. And they are. They land and they land
when you're
hard.
getting hit by them.
Yeah, it's weird. His gloves always seem too big for his hands. So I think that's also part of it. Aesthetically, it looks, when guys have like little tight Grant or Reyes gloves, they look sharper. When the guys wear the bulky winning, or very rarely do people wear winning. I think Inoue had them on the other day. When they wear Everlast, like Bud's gloves never look taped up properly around his wrist.
When Floyd would wear those white gloves, it looks like the Johns you would give your daughters to like play with.
Yeah, they're terrible.
But just how massive they look.
Yeah,
they look like two pillows.
Yeah, I rode motorcycles for years, and not to get too far down a rabbit hole, one of the things they recommend is you wearing white, because the eye of the driver picks up white better than black or a darker color.
I always heard that the white gloves look better to the judges.
Is it really? Because it never. How would I describe this? Shots look more violent with the red or black or a dark colored glove to me. Like the white, white makes things look bigger. Black makes things look smaller. Right. So that it looks like
the shots look more deadly and compact.
Yeah, like a tighter fist. Like, it drives me nuts that Usyk wears white gloves.
Well, I think with Floyd, it might have been part of the plan, because as he moved up, he wasn't knocking guys out. So, hey, I want you to show all my shots to look flashy with these big balloons on my hands, and look like I am landing them, which he was.
Sure.
I just think Errol Spence does everything good. If there's a knock and it isn't a knock, it's just that I think when a kid comes into the gym as a kid, and you're building them, and you're teaching them the jab and the 1-2, and then coming back with I think he's very much the perfect fighter in that regard.
Right.
And I don't know if that's going to work against a guy that I think is great. I think he throws his jab well. He throws his right hand straight. His hooks look like they're designed in a video game. His body, he looks like a designed video game fighter.
Spence.
And none of that is a knock.
No.
But those type of guys historically don't have intangibles.
His intangibles to me, or whatever you want to refer to him, are that. Have you ever seen him tired? Have you really ever seen him hurt?
No.
He's like a fucking Terminator out there. He just breaks your will. He's front foot pretty much the whole fight. He's touching you. You're hitting him. Nothing's happening to him. He really doesn't even flinch. He's got like that crazy look in his eye too. Like, Spence looks like he just doesn't look afraid of anything. He doesn't really
what do you think
get out of character either.
No rabbit hole. We don't have to go on our phones or Google or anything. Just quickly. What would you rate his like if it was a test, what would you rate his competition?
Spence?
Yeah.
Out of 10?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's fought world champs, 8 out of 10, same as Crawford. They've, I think at 47, Spence's resume is better, but that's by circumstance. The fighters were
circumstance. Yeah.
It's not like Crawford was avoiding them.
Yeah. I think I remember, to me, there was a period of time where Errol Spence was an oh my God fighter when I watched him. He hasn't been an oh my God fighter in a few years. Look, things happened in that time. The
Right.
pandemic, a car accident, none of that. He didn't control the pandemic.
Age.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he didn't control the pandemic. He made a mistake with the car accident, and was hurt. Um, Nonetheless, it's been a number of years since I saw the oh my God guy. The people talking at the barbershop guy.
Right.
But it's still that to me. He's more naturally gifted. His arsenal is more innovative. You use the word educated, guys flip flop the word, whatever you want. I'm using the word innovative because because everything Spence does
Well,
is
innovative
right,
makes more sense when you're talking about Crawford.
right.
Sure.
Because I think Spence is a very by the book fighter and a great one, by the way. You
Right.
should throw all those punches correctly and from
Right.
proper angles. But the great guys create things. They create things in there. They're innovative with the style. They see the same thing that Spence does. Spence sees a straight right hand, or Spence sees an opening for a hook. Bud's not throwing that shot. Bud's
Right.
throwing one of those shots you spoke about earlier. He
Right.
might switch stances and throw that thing it's like it's half the shot. I know the shot you're talking about too.
Yeah.
It's half looped, half chopping.
Yeah. It's a chopping shot. Yep.
It'll land weird. Those things aren't in Spencer's arsenal. Although the things that are in Spencer's arsenal are all great. He does
Right.
destructive body work.
Right.
He's walked through. I remember us talking about, because we talked about when Floyd and Manny fought. We said, "Oh my God, it's been 8 years," and it's the same thing with you and I being friends. I'll forget how long.
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
been
and
a
it's
long
the
time.
same. I remember us talking like a long time. I think it was the Algieri, like Chris Algieri, a good fighter.
I was there.
Beat a guy like Provodnikov, who's tougher than Provodnikov. Not saying who's
Right.
better, but who's tougher than Provodnikov. The guy hit like a mule. Tim Bradley said the guy, he wasn't right in the head for what, like 3 months or something
Yeah.
after Provodnikov hit him. So Chris Algieri is a real guy, and it was like a hot knife through butter.
Butter, yeah.
With Spence.
I was at that fight, and it's his punches are thudding.
Yeah.
It's
But it's just my opinion. I think he should have got Mikey up out of there. I think he should have got Porter up out of there. I think Bud would have laid hands on Mikey Garcia at any weight class, because they were, Mikey started smaller, kept going up. So there was places
there was talk that they were going to meet. Yeah.
Right. At another weight,
Right.
But Mikey went up to take that fight. And just, stinker of a fight, guys. We tell you, well, if you never saw blah, blah, blah fight, make sure you watch it, guys. If you didn't see that fight, don't watch it. I think, look, his destruction of people comes when he sees vulnerability. And when he doesn't see vulnerability, he's comfortable with that W.
Right.
And he's comfortable going, look, I'm better. I can go, like you said, stamina, next level. His conditioning's next level. Look, I landed some big shots on this guy, and he's not budging. I'm comfortable doing this. I think that's very dangerous. It's a habit I see of his. And then, bro, there's a lot of things that I think are weird, and you would call them, I guess they'd go under the heading of intangibles. Crawford was there for Lomachenko, Devin Haney. Cambosis. Right. What was the one before that? We've had like 3 or 4 in a couple months, right, B?
Yeah.
We keep talking about it. It is my opinion that Bud thinks, at very least, I got to knock this guy down 1 or 2 times. At very least, if we go down that rabbit hole, we're getting into predictions, and I don't know if we're ready for that yet. What do you think about that? How do you think these guys are going to fight each other?
Well, I told you how
is this going to turn into a firefight?
I think at points it will be. Especially when Crawford inevitably turns southpaw. And like I was trying to allude to, was that's when he sort of gets into like counterpuncher mode. And I think that will mesh well with the stalker. You have two counterpunchers, the fight's going to suck, right? You have two stalkers, two swarmers. It'll be fun, but it's not going to last long. This will be a battle of wits, but I think it'll be fun once Bud gets comfortable and switches southpaw, which is what he usually does after the second or third round, or sometimes earlier.
I was going to say, I think he's going to stay. I think he's going to stay orthodox till the third or fourth. This fight. So I think when he switches and Spence starts coming at him, that's good for Bud.
Yeah, I think so. Bud's gonna, he's gonna move. He's gonna move both directions. He never really stays still. And I think he's going to try to get the bull, Crawford to Ole. You know what I mean? I think that's what he's going to try to do. He's going to try to get Crawford's going to try to get Spence, to follow him. When he follows him, I think he's going to try to rattle off bing, bing, bing punches and then get the fuck out of there. I think that's what he's going to try to do.
I also don't know how good Spence's defense is, considering that thus far he's used his offensive abilities as his defense.
He does. Yeah. He positions himself in a good spot not to get hit a lot.
Yeah.
Spence.
Yeah.
So he's on the right side of the guy's hip when he's inside, throwing body punches. And he also is very good at picking punches off with his gloves. So
I think there's things you can do to negate that, not negate, to when he's doing that's, to me, that's where innovation comes into play. When you're talking about what he does, and you're absolutely right, when he does those things you just named, the average guy, even good guys, don't know what to do with that.
Right.
I think a guy that has innovation in his offense will say, when he does this, I'm going to throw this shot that isn't a traditional punch. It's going to come from a weird angle.
Yeah.
Maybe how will that play into what if the things you say that Spence does that are defensively responsible? Well, if Bud's on the other side of that because he switched stances, there might be an opening there that other guys haven't seen or had the ability to take.
Well, one thing we have seen is Bud is vulnerable, right? He gets hit, right? Sometimes he stays in the pocket too long. Sometimes he gets in a firefight.
Yeah.
He likes that sort of shit. He's the kind of guy, he gets hit, he hits you back. He wants to fight, sticks his tongue out. He starts getting, he's in a fight. He's no longer, oftentimes he'll for a brief second lose his composure, and you see Bomac kind of reel him back in. Brian McIntyre is his trainer. And you see him get excited.
He'll throw wide, sloppy shots.
If I'm Spence, I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to get in his head, and get him to do that and get him to fight me at close range.
If he fights the way he was younger, he's got experiences there. You have a really good memory when it comes to actual fights. Do you remember how big and wide the shots were Bud was throwing at Gamboa when he thought he was hurt? When he thought he was hurt.
It was like that weird uppercut, he was.
But bro, I'm almost talking like bum fights. And I'm like, yo, this guy is an elite fighter. What are these shots? Now, again, all that shit, we talk about this all the time, man. All that type of shit is erased when at the end of the fight and on his record on BoxRec, it says KO.
Right.
It's the same way I always bring up. My one example is Franz Botha embarrassing Mike Tyson for however many rounds, and then he throws maybe the most shortest, succinct, perfect right hand in the history of the heavyweight division.
Right.
Puts him into orbit. And now, that's 1999, I think. 24 years ago. No one remembers that Franz Botha was laying hands on Mike.
Right,
So
right,
no
right.
one remembers that Bud was doing what you said. Got completely wild, charged up. Y'all want to fly
Yeah,
this dude's not like what I'm doing right now. If you can see me,
yeah,
I can look like a complete moron. There was nothing right. Boom, 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 up the middle hooks,
right,
crisp, straight shots. Look, that shit that I talked about Spence being almost robotic, is the fucking death knell for Bud getting wild. Those
right,
shots that I said, oh, they're not very innovative. His offense isn't very innovative. It's very traditional. 1-2 with a 3 behind it, maybe, or 1-1-2 and a 3 behind it.
right.
That's when that comes into play, and
Sure.
Bud's dead.
Right.
And you say he gets wild. You just said it. He gets wild.
Sure.
He's been touched. He can
Right.
be hit.
Right. And then and once he gets hit, he gets wild. So, to use the big fish metaphor that these guys are throwing back and forth,
which is very funny. Yeah,
it's
very funny.
It's almost like Spence goes to the fishing hole with his one lure and his one pole, and that's what works for him.
Yeah, it might even be a stick, B, with a
right. Yeah, like a bamboo. Yeah, right. Yeah,
that's what to me.
And Crawford shows up with a full tackle box.
You know what I mean? In a boat.
Right, in a boat. But they all have the same. They have the same success rate.
They get the same amount of fish.
They get the same results. And it's one thing works for one guy and the other thing works for the other guy.
And whoever implements that style is going to be the one with the most fish at the end of the fight.
Right.
The way you're, what a beautiful example you said with the fishing. I was very smart of you to bring that in. This very simplistic $10, reel that you buy at Walmart,
right?
But you catch mad fish because you're that good with something that simple. Comparatively, that's
right.
The
and
truth,
then opposed to the guy with all the little flies on his hat,
on his
head,
what I'm saying? Yeah, the whole gimmick.
He's successful. He's a success. They're both very successful. One guy's just like Spence reminds me of a guy just like, you know what I'm saying? Like sitting down there and like, oh, what are you doing? He's like, well, I'm whistling for the fish. And someone else is like, what are you talking about? And then you got Crawford's got the fish finder. He's got this. He's got that. He's got
apps on his phone. They're reading.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess
that takes nothing away from him. You got to be skilled to know how to work all that shit.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just two different. It's a style difference in style matches up.
Okay, so look, let me ask you this. We know Bud likes a firefight. We're saying, okay, he gets hit and he gets wild. I think he knows he can't do that. Well, we know he knows he can't do that.
I was just gonna say, I think that's easily self-corrected.
It's self-corrected, but then you got is he more cerebral than a guy like Arturo Gatti, who gets with Buddy McGirt, starts boxing again because in the beginning of his career he was a boxer. Starts boxing beautifully again. Look at the fight with Teron Millette. Look at rounds 1 through 4. Gotti Ward 1. The guy looked like a boxer. He's on the outside, moving his hands brilliantly, throwing combinations, getting out of there. He gets clipped once, and what happens?
Yeah,
the switch goes off.
Right.
That he was never, rest his soul, to the very end, he was never able to remove that switch and say this switch is not helping.
Right. He wasn't, for lack of a better description, he wasn't really a thinker in there. You know what I mean? It was Crawford is more of a thinker, and I don't think I've ever seen Spence flustered in anything. The guy is as stoic as they come.
I don't know if it's because he's so dumb that he doesn't know any better.
I don't think he's that dumb. That's the thing. I just think it's like,
no, I don't mean as a fighter. I just mean like when I hear him talk, I'm like, is that because like we both know people in the South, we know that there's a Southern draw. I kind of can't understand him. He sounds punch drunk, but I know that he's not, if that makes any sense.
Could be. I thought so after the accident. He sounded like shit.
To me, he sounds like when your man had one too many and he's talking to you.
Yeah.
And you kind of understand where he's getting at, but
Yeah,
like
I mean,
some words are in
you're
there.
describing someone who's punch drunk.
No, I know,
Yeah.
I know, but I'm wondering if he is. What tough fights has he been in? I mean, if he is, it's the accident. I don't know what happened to his
But I mean,
head.
it could be just these guys box from when they're kids, thousands of rounds sparring.
Yeah, I mean,
You know?
everyone's body's different. All
Right.
right, so yeah, you're right. He sounds punch drunk to me, and it's hard to sound like a bright guy when you're punch drunk. Just my opinion. Even if
Okay.
your faculties are still there, I
Right.
don't understand half of what he's saying. It's like his.
I don't find him that bad, but okay.
I also find him to be a dud, and people think Bud is a dud, and I think I didn't try to rhyme that. I think Bud is low key funny.
I do too,
and I think it's a I think he's very dry, and people can mistake that for being a dud.
Yeah.
I think a conversation with Errol Spence, you'd fall asleep. I think Bud could act the same way, which appears to be the stoicism too, and you'd crack up a lot if you just kept letting him.
Yeah, I mean,
it's funny. He's always got that shit-eating grin, and those dudes are dangerous.
Yeah, he's
that shit-eating
mischievous.
grin. He's like fucking Dennis the Menace.
Right.
At every stare down and something, no tough guy shit, just this little mischievous. He's got that I got you, motherfucker.
I'm gonna get you.
You know those guys? Motherfucker, I got you. And it's a smile. And there's a lot of what you're talking about, Spence. I think about Bud that I don't see him being rattled. I don't see him. I
don't either. That was what I was gonna get into. And that's the same thing. So to piggyback on that, I never seen Bud get rattled. I never seen Bud shaken. I've also, as I pointed out before, never seen Spence tired. I never really seen Bud tired.
Neither have I.
You know what I mean? These guys have gas tanks. So,
and guys, look, I'm not putting much stock in this, and B knows not to. There's flabby guys who can go 15 rounds. There's guys that are built like muscle guys that gas at the 3.
Right.
Look, B and I have seen both of these guys. All right. And another thing, B, is again, we talked about let's bury the word casual in its relationship to boxing. I tried to avoid this word, but I can't. There's something about being a dog, and Bud is a dog, and people who are Spence guys, yo, Spence is a dog, and I don't think he is.
No?
I don't think he's been in a position
he's had
to show me he's a dog. So take that back.
All right.
I can't say he's not a dog because I don't know, but I know that Bud is a dog.
Well, okay. So
you're a prime undefeated Yuriorkis Gamboa. Well, we're going to call him prime, but we know he was probably 110 when he fought him.
Right.
So if Yuriorkis Gamboa was in his early 30s when they fought, we know he was really probably 40. But an undefeated Yuriorkis Gamboa, who was very good then.
Right.
Very good.
I'd say, yes, and was kind of on the tail end, because he was moving up. Don't forget, he wasn't making weight anymore.
Also taking into the fact that we joke on this show, but it's not much of a joke. Those guys lie about their age.
Right.
So you're saying tail end, and that's tail end of the lying age.
Right.
The age that was lying. So
I'll say the Kell Brook fight, Kell pushed him, and he overcame, and he broke the other eye socket.
Yes, after Golovkin.
The opposite one.
I mean, hey, the argument could be made there that he was damaged by one of the most feared middleweights in recent history.
But what I'm saying is he gave Spence hell in that fight. And
Kell Brook is a very good fighter.
Sure. And a very tough guy. Rugged.
Speed of his hands was slept on.
Right.
At least over here, maybe in the UK.
And rugged though.
Tough customer.
That's why when they were, and not to get down that rabbit hole, whenever they were bigging up Amir Khan, I was like, that's not going to be a close fight.
No, I mean, it was it was a bad fight to make.
Sure.
Other than the fact that over there it's monstrous and they've hated each other for 100 years. But it was their Pacquiao Mayweather.
Yeah.
It just ended up way more ugly.
Right.
For Amir Khan. So I apologize. No, I'm not saying Bud's not a dog. I'm saying
Spence.
Spence isn't a dog. I'm saying, to his credit, there haven't been many positions he's been in where he had to show that he is one. And there's also, I think, but remember remember when who was training Kovalev in his prime? Don Turner.
Yeah, he was one of them.
Don Turner said that this guy about Kovalev is the meanest fighter I've ever trained. I think Bud is a mean guy, man. A mean guy.
Yeah.
In the ring.
He wants to hurt you.
He wants to hurt you. I don't think he cares about there's clearly you critiqued him, I critiqued him. There's clearly something in Lomachenko that has to do with 400 amateur fights where he had Richard Comey very hurt and said, "Hey, guys, stop this." You know what I mean? That is not something Terrence Crawford is going to do, guys.
Right.
There will be no Larry Holmes when he was waving the referee. You know, stop this. I'm letting my hands go. Ref, stop it. This is not a guy that cares about that, guys.
No, he's gonna try to hurt you.
To remember the Ray Mercer knockout of Tommy Morrison?
Yeah, that's
what Bud wants. And when and Ray Mercer was like, "Yo, I see a guy in front of me that looks like a corpse, and I'm gonna throw another 3 punches."
Yeah.
That's Bud.
It's just kill mode.
He is in destruction, kill mode. The Arnold Schwarzenegger, when you see through his eyes as the Terminator.
Right.
That's what happens to Bud Crawford when he feels that someone is hurt or vulnerable. And they can be two different things. If he just keeps seeing something over and over, repetitive, yo, when I throw the jab, Spence drops his, when I stick this jab to the stomach, Spence drops his hands a quarter of an inch, and that's all I need to go upstairs. That's part of Terminator shit.
Yeah, I think
methodical.
I actually think
methodical.
I think, yeah. But I do think that Spence has it too. He's just like a expressionless.
You know what? You're not wrong.
Droid out there. He just he's for a guy who's like seems to be, they're both family guys. They both seem, unfazed by certain stuff. Crawford definitely, I don't understand when people say he doesn't have a good personality. Bud's fucking funny.
But I think he's from the South, so it doesn't apply. But you and I are very, very East Coast rooted humor wise. We've talked about people we know from other places that don't get it. I mean, I've been in Cali, and like you could hear crickets in the room after I said something because they were mortified. Look, I don't know how it gets to Oklahoma, but Bud's got this
Nebraska?
very dry.
Yeah.
Omaha.
Yeah.
I meant to say Omaha, not Oklahoma. Sorry. Omaha. I don't know how it gets there, but it's this very East Coast centric dry win.
Right.
That's not a dud. Spence is a dud, but it's just dry wit. But look, I'm sorry again for the umpteenth time. I started to keep making it look like I'm trying to imply that Bud's so much better. I'm just saying there's a difference to me, and the only difference is innovation. There's more innovation, and which in my opinion leads to more tools in the toolbox. Like you said, what is the fishing box called? A tackle box?
Tackle box, yeah.
There's more in his tackle box. Whereas you said, but guess what? Spence is still catching fish.
Spence is still catching fish. So
and that can be applied to other things and other sports. Yo, this guy has it's a rudimentary style, but it works. He's still putting up 20 and 10 every game.
Tim Duncan.
Yes, Tim Duncan's giving you 20 and 10, and his game was very boring.
Yep. But successful.
You
could that's what I don't get.
And then you watch Iverson. So they're both the same height, and they're playing one-on-one. Now I don't mean it with Tim Duncan at 7 foot and Iverson at 5'11". They're both 7 foot and they play. I want to see that game.
Sure.
Because is this guy who's almost
style
a
matchup
robot on this court. This guy's a robot. The little bank shot over and over and over, and no one can stop him. And he shoots well from the free throw line, which no one does at that height. All power forwards and centers of that generation stunk. Shaq shot 50% at the line. I think we're looking at that here. This guy who throws the pitcher who throws slop against the guy who's throwing the heater, Ricky. The guy's got the 110 mile an hour fastball.
And then Greg
the guy
Maddox.
who's throwing right, who's throwing pitches that come in at 62 miles an hour.
Right.
I think that's what we have here. And who do you take if you're drafting these guys? And that means who do you and I take, and what do we think? If you agree with me with what I'm saying, that Spence is the guy with the stick on a rope fishing, but catches mad fish, and Bud is a guy with a bunch of stuff in the tackle box and catches the same amount of fish. The
beauty of this fight to me is it's a pick 'em, and I've seen great points made on both sides.
Have you seen the line, by the way?
I have not. Have you?
Okay, let me look while you're talking.
I would assume Spence is the favorite, correct?
Gun to my head, I guess. And what do you base that on? I guess size, because there's nothing else, in my opinion.
Well, I think, yeah. I mean, Crawford's won every fight at welterweight by stoppage. Every fight at welterweight, he's won by stoppage.
Okay, so we have, okay. For you and I, it's basically a pick'em fight, like you said.
Right.
Spence is plus 120. So you have to, so that's pretty much even, guys.
Yeah,
you
have to spend
$120 to win. $120 to win $100. That's, guys, when you're around that range, 120, 140, that's close to even.
Right.
Crawford is minus 150. So, guys, you bet $100 on Bud and he wins, you win 150, but that's very close. The over-under in these type of fights, B, if you're a gambler, which neither of us are always very intriguing, and it's 10.5. 10.5 rounds. Yeah. I mean,
that's pretty wild.
That's pretty wild, right? Guys, we have an 8 p.m. start time. They're saying main event 11. B and I don't believe that for a second.
If that's the case, I'd be very happy.
Yeah. So B saying 11:30, maybe. I mean, B saying 12:30, maybe 12:45. He put that bug in my ear.
Yeah,
I was saying 11:30. I'm thinking maybe 11:45. B's 11. Is 8 p.m. there.
Yeah. I mean, that seems normal recently.
What do you think about the over under 10.5?
That's wild to me. That's
where would you think it was? You're Vegas. You're making the over.
I was usually they're not that
late.
You know what I mean?
What were you thinking? 9?
I was thinking 8.5 or 9. Yeah.
Okay. I think the later in the rounds that the over under is the more Vegas is pretty convinced it's going to be a nip and tuck close fight.
Yeah, and a decision, sure.
And a decision. I don't.
Who was the last guy Spence knocked out?
Let's see, because it's part of why I said to you, I'm trying to think of the last time I said wow, and was it Chris Algieri? I don't know.
No. I was at the Lamont Peterson fight too.
Oh, Ugas, his eyes.
Oh, he stopped Ugas, right?
Yeah, but it was. I mean, they stopped it. Ugas was like, "Let's dance."
Yeah.
Was that wow to you, B? That performance? The fight before that was Danny Garcia, who stinks. Fight before that was Sean Porter. Somehow that was an SD. That was split decision. What an awful card was handled then. I don't know.
Ocampo.
Horrible. Before that was Mikey Garcia. Ocampo in 1. I guess I was like, wow, this guy's the real deal. Lamont Peterson before that. Kell Brook before that, who gave him some. I mean, yeah, to me, it was like a little run. It was like Algieri, Leonard Bundu, Brook, Lamont, Ocampo. I was like strung together. It was wow.
Leonard Bundu fight was that was on after like the Olympics.
Yeah, I mean, bro, that was
outside. That was outside in Brooklyn.
Over 6 years ago. That's when he
yes.
first won the belt. And then the Mikey, Sean Porter, and Danny Garcia fights. I was like, look, all wins, all. I'm going to use the word reputable. I'm not going to use the word good. All reputable guys who have been around and fought everybody.
Solid
and
wins.
He beat them. Solid wins. None of them. I was like, whoa. He beat them by doing what I said, which is fighting very
Yeah.
methodically.
And all those
with-
guys. Well,
with-
the Mikey Garcia fight, I thought that he should have. I mean, there was no excuse not to score a stoppage in that
I
fight.
believe Bud would have stopped Mikey Garcia.
Absolutely.
Um,
Danny
does that
Garcia
put-
knows how to survive. I don't know if anybody's knocking that. You know what I mean? He's never
Yeah.
been down. He's never been out. He's got a hell of a chin.
yeah. He's proving to be the second person in boxing history without the Boricua beard.
Yeah.
Number one being Hector Macho Tang
Macho
Camacho.
Tang.
Granite chin.
All right.
I'm gonna say they both have different DNA. What do you think about that?
Maybe.
Mhm, mhm.
Maybe. They were both raised in the States.
See,
That has a lot to do with
who
it.
knows where they came from?
You know, like if Danny Garcia was,
Or what if their DNA is like mostly Spaniard?
Oh,
You know,
yeah, could be.
what lends to the chin? The Taino blood?
I don't know. Maybe
you have to ask your wife.
I'll let.
Ask her cousins, who will then jump you when you say, "Why is your
That's-
chin so trash?"
That's precisely what'll happen.
I know. Ask
After
them what when you're at the next party. Ask why you're walking out, like to the car. Like, why do you have bad chins? And then
I'll do it. No, right when I'm making a plate. You know what I mean? And they're
Yeah.
like, "What?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
I say to my guys, "Yo, when you go to bed at night and your daughter kisses you on
Yeah,
the
is it
cheek,
not?
that
Are you
get
happy
knocked-
that there's a pillow right there?
right? You're right out. Just from
Right, you
that.
got to have a padded
Just from-
pillow.
Mhm.
All right, so
Let's talk predictions.
shit.
Give up the goods, Brendan Long. This is where we have to. This is
Okay,
where we
so
have to talk turkey and put our money
What
where
I
our
was
mouth
saying
is.
before, man, this is difficult. I'm going with Crawford by split decision.
Okay.
I think he's, and this is insane to fucking say, insane. He starts to push the distance apart between the two guys because Spence usually comes on late, right? And does well late. I think Crawford also does well late. And I think that he starts to widen the gap, so to speak, a little later. I think that the switching stances, and I can't believe I'm saying this, frustrates Spence because it doesn't seem like anything frustrates Spence because he's just on the front foot in kill mode all the time. The little lateral movement, pick, peck. And I've been wrong lately. I was wrong about Cool Boy, and so I'm gonna
So was
say.
I.
So I'm gonna say Crawford in a nip and tuck, razor thin splitter.
What could I possibly say to you to be like, you're crazy? I can't. Let me ask you a question before I give my prediction, and it's a quick one.
Mm-hmm.
Not do you believe, because I know you believe in them. Do you think judges in 2023 will give a 10-8 round in a round that someone doesn't go down but is hurt badly?
Yes,
Okay.
I do think that. I don't know about in this fight. By the way, Harvey Dock is the referee.
Yes. And are you hip to the judges?
Yeah, not a great track record.
Tim Cheatham is his name. His name is Tim Cheatham. Cheatham is his name. Weisfeld is bad.
Bad. I don't know how.
I like Harvey Dock. I'm
Yeah.
okay with that.
I am too.
And David Sutherland is the other judge who has turned in some wonky cards. Look, you had Don King behind the Chavez, Meldrick Taylor fight.
Mhm.
You had Don King behind Chavez, Sweet Pea, draw robbery. Does Al Heyman have that kind of power in Vegas? I do not know. Two of these judges I'm iffy about. I'm cool.
What do you got? What do you got?
Cool. I'm sorry. I'm cool with Harvey Dock. I think Bud has to score a 10-8 round. I think he has to drop him or have him really hurt and get a 10-8 round to win. My prediction is that to us, you and I,
Mm-hmm.
Bud wins the fight 7-5, 8-4, and it's a split decision draw. 2 cards, 114, 114, and another card, 115, 113 for Bud. And it's a split decision draw going into the rematch, which will maybe be at 54.
54.
I think that if they're the only way Bud wins is a round so dominant, any round, it's so dominant and he hurts him that it's a 10-8 round, or he actually drops him where they have to give him a 10-8 round. And that's how Bud Crawford gets a win.
Oh, I'm also going to say, man, I don't think there's going to be any knockdowns. That's what I'm going to say.
You're probably right. That's why I asked you before my prediction, do you believe that a 10-8 round can be given out? I think it can hurt, wobbly, holding on, you know.
Yeah.
Remember when Mosley clipped Floyd and Floyd brilliantly held on and came back?
Yeah.
I'm talking that, but it doesn't go that way.
Right. Okay.
You know, he's on shaky legs. He's moving. I'm not saying it'll happen. I'm saying that's what it will take to get I believe there has to be a 10-8 round for Bud Crawford to win. If there's a 10-8 round in this fight via a dominant round that's so dominant it's 10-8, or a knockdown, even a flash one where he gets clipped. Because and on the other side, you could argue that Mean Machine, that was a real knockdown.
Sure.
Bud. And Yordeokas Gamboa had him hurt. But so maybe I'll say it either way. One of these guys needs a 10-8 round to win this fight. But I think Bud Crawford, to us, to you and I, to our eyes that I think are pretty good eyes, we have it scored 115, 113, 116, 112. That's thrown out the window. Majority draw. Well, was it two 114, 114s, and then another? Is that a majority draw or is that a split decision?
That's a majority draw.
So majority draw.
So a split draw would be like 115.
113 for Bud, 115, 113 for Spence,
and then a draw.
114, 114. My apologies. Majority draw, in my opinion, unless there's a knockdown.
Very Vince specific.
It is. If Bud can clip him and on the inside, when they're on the inside, which a fight will break out, like you said, it spurts. If he can clip him and drop him, he needs that.
I think the way, if he does drop him, the way he's going to do it is with his uppercut, like he did with Porter, where Spence is coming in and he steps back and throws the uppercut.
I think if he lands a shot that hurts him bad, it's on the inside and it's an uppercut.
Again,
and he needs that to win this fight.
I guess Ugas sort of hurt Spence in their last fight, but it was more
right
like
hand, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it was more like Spence was looking at the referee like, hey, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then Ugas threw a punch.
Yeah.
But we've never really seen Spence hurt.
No, until then, and you can argue that he was looking at the ref.
Right.
And a clean shot from anyone
hurts. Right. So
you're feather fisted.
I mean, this is crazy. Like
it's crazy. It's crazy.
I'm excited for Saturday. I'm excited.
Me too.